Namaste, Guten Tag, hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is going to be my boss battles video, and don't worry, you don't have to see my ugly mug for much longer, because we're going to go into the game right about now. See, it looks so much better in game. It's less of me and more of the game, which, you know, people prefer. Now, I've already done my initial clear of this particular Ex Machina. I always kind of like get confused with this because I think of Ex Machinima, which, funnily enough, and I don't know if Netflix has listened to me, is actually recommended on my Netflix at the moment. But I digress. Let's talk about the different bosses, things that are good, things that are bad, things to watch out for. Let's do it. Our first boss up is Superior Iron Man. Something to really watch out for is Buff Duration, Mighty Charge, Vigorous Assault, and Arc Overload. Now, for this, I felt that I was happy with the champions that I chose. However, though, do watch out for Mighty Charge. Something that I think just going into a block stance or trying to get the parry off is something that will be a benefit, because if you're trying to do the intercept, sometimes it doesn't always play off and you're kind of thinking, right, well, that's crap because that's an unstoppable that's just smacked you straight in the face. And really kind of treat this in a kind of slowly catching monkey. Heal reversing may be an option. There's so many champions to choose from, or heal blocking. You could even try for a champion that suppresses regeneration, like Archangel, right the way through to, well, getting close to the champion and doing stuff with a Mega Red. But I feel that you want to suppress that healing, but effectively it's the first boss up, so it's not going to be too much of an issue. The next boss up is Deadpool. Now, Deadpool he's alright. It's a champion that's got that horrible regeneration at the end of it, so you're like, damn it. And reversing that regeneration isn't going to be a thing, so the likes of using your guillotines, your Modocs, etc, it's not going to be there. And especially it's made even worse with the fact that we've got Indomitable, which basically means that anything that's reversed is actually turned to be heal block effect, which isn't too bad, but still is quite annoying. And obviously if you're using a champion like Guillotine, Redoubled Determination is going to play positively in the enemy's favour. Not very good. So champions that do standard heal blocking and as well are, you know, quite robust in the likes of Iron Man Infinity War, Sentinel could be quite good. If you do want to, I don't know, play dangerously, and let's face it, I'm a man who likes to play dangerously, Archangel could be your bag for this, especially to suppress some of that regeneration and putting in some nasty poison effects as well. But do bear in mind, you are being a reckless SOB with redoubled determination. God damn it, I need to learn how to speak this evening. Either way, not too bad of a champion to go up against, and I don't think a lot of people will struggle if they bring the correct champion to the battle. Our next boss up to bat is Mr. Sinister. Yes, Mr. Sinister, Nathaniel Essex enters back in as a boss. Now, this is a fun champion. It's not exactly great in some respects. And look, you've got cornered, you've got SP1 bias. And yeah, if you've got a very painful debuff effect on the enemy, it does doubly bad. Number one, because, well, you could have that coming back in your face. Number two, because that, well, triggers cornered. And number three, because unlimited power. Yes, he's going to store up all those debuff effects and he's going to hit you hard. Or he's going to build up a load of fury buffs, then he's going to hit you hard. For this, it is very tricky to pick up a champion that is ideal for the situation. I mean, first of all, I tried the lovely Archangel. Then, realizing partway through, and as you know, I'm a very dangerous bastard, I decided that, yes, this isn't good, because by the end of it, he gained about 20 odd fury buffs. I'm thinking, yeah, this was a bad idea. However, though, the extent of damage had already been done, I suppressed the extent of regeneration that I was expecting. Obviously, having recovery isn't exactly brilliant. However, thinking about options for this, and Iron Man Infinity War and Sentinel probably screaming to me as options. However, though, watch out with Sentinel that if you're applying any kind of more negative effects that you're just doing the L1, don't do the heavy attack, don't do the SP2. With Iron Man Infinity War, it's all about the heavy attack, baby, and you do have the option whether or not you put in the L1 or L2, or mainly build up to the L3, which may be a better option. Do bear in mind, people, the fact is we've got cornered and we have indeed got unlimited power. So yeah, that's not particularly good. Box clever with this one, I do stress that a lot. But you could have the option, something that I have enjoyed using a lot more, is Stark Spidey. And not putting in an L2, which is more common with a champion, but mainly building up poise charges and then smacking through with a major amount of damage. Or you could look at the option of doing a parry and then doing a heavy attack, stealing power, and effectively smashing it home for the win. It's your choice. Or you could look to put loads of debuff effects on and build up with a champion that deals something with fury attacks. It could be a case that fury buffs even. You could do something with Morningstar with bleeds being constantly put on. But I'd probably, again, stress it would be better to stick to the first 3 options. I'm an Infinity War, Sentinel or Stark Spidey. Maybe you could look at Vision Age of Ultron for a decent power draining effects as well as putting on heal block, but the options are there. Next up, and indeed speaking of Vision, yes, he enters in as a boss. Now, it isn't going to be something of a fantastical boss. And one thing you really have to watch out is for synthesize. That's one thing. Building up power really quickly is going to be a pain in the butt. And obviously, the main champion that everyone's screaming at the moment is Medusa. And yes, Medusa was the MVP for this one. But there are other champion options you can consider. But it is going to be that synthesis and that power gain very quickly that you've got to watch out for. Aspect of evolution, I mean, that's alright. That's not going to be too painful. I think special chaos inversion. The attacker's dash and dodge controls are inverted from the start of the defender's special attacks until just after they end. Now, that is something to watch out for, but I don't think it's something that's going to cause too much of a concern. Even if you do go into a blocked stance, after that you just wait for them to wear off and then you're off again and doing your damage. I just think if you're too gung-ho with it, or if you're too quick to this and you get caught and you start thrashing around and you've dodged when you thought you were going to dash, then it could be something that will land you in a bit of pain. So maybe the block for caution, and obviously champions that deal with class advantage, maybe as well a quick to power control could be a good option. But I think you could do like a vision on vision action here just to suppress that power gain, as we talked about the idea of heal block power gain a moment ago. Maybe kind of look to replicate that, but Medusa is the standout character for this, to suppress power gain in this circumstance. Here is where things get a little bit more trickier and also allows you to really think about who you're going to bring for this. Now, there are several options screaming out this champion's immunities. Now, obviously, Incinerate immune champions are going to be great. The champion is a very easy to avoid SP1, which you learn very quickly on. Now, you'll see that it's a capoeira. He's doing like a capoeira move. If you're not familiar, it's a Brazilian fighting dance. Now, that is pretty cool as well because it keeps its distance. And I would probably say at the point where he does the flip back over is the point to then dash forward. But you can do it whilst he's doing it. Just watch out for the foot in the air hitting you, because if you mess that up, you're going to be annoyed because it will clip you. So try not to get clipped by that and hitting through. So there's 2 champions that scream out for me as really interesting options, which I haven't tried myself. And that's Human Torch and Bishop. 2 champions that deal well with things that are like power, incinerate, those kind of things, that are able to then convert that back into positive things and positive elements for themselves. So that could be 2 options there, Human Torch and Bishop. Also, do bear in mind that are champions that are Incinerate immune. 2 again that shout out for me is Mephisto and as well Iceman. I used Iceman because I felt like that was easier for me. And yes, the other issue to kind of point out is he does shrug off debuff effects, which isn't great, but the fact is if you've got a champion that does a good amount of damage, it doesn't really matter. There's also another possibility which I'm thinking about, something that I might want to try, and this is a class advantage, and that is with Ghost. As we know, with Ghost, if you swipe back, you go into a phase form, you do absorb whatever debuff effect is on you. Now, I'm not sure if that is something that would work out well. It may be something I can do in a quick video, and maybe I'll get that out tomorrow. I'm not quite sure. But the idea that you could change that Incinerate into something of a positive fury effect, I think that is the case, that would be possible. I don't know, needs experimenting in. Now on to Warlock. Yeah, Warlock kind of was the big scuff for me because I made mistakes, and the mistake was really underestimating masochism. Also, I'd say Bubble Shield isn't too much of an issue with the champions that I've got. It's very easy to kind of bypass that, which is great. But the problem for me was indeed masochism and thinking about the best way to play Medusa, because I went in like, oh, that's fine, I'll be able to use Medusa. It did be alright. I'm not gonna find too much of an issue. I'll be able to build to that shattered armor very quickly, and it just wasn't the case that was possible. It would be possible if I thought more about it. So if I'd done a parry, I then hit up the masochism, then I was able to hit in a further parry very quickly as the timer is expiring, and then hit him through for a little bit, apply the special attack, the SP1, building up to the shattered armor, and I probably would have been fine. However though, when I kind of did it, it just fell flat. But I said that my second time that I gave this a go, and using it with Stark Spidey, actually turned out to be a lot better option. And again, same principle as it was before, where I'd build poise charges, but rather than concentrating on smashing through an L2, which may be not good in this circumstance, is maybe build up a bit further than that and hit him with an L3 first and foremost, or secondly, just look to damage output with the poise attacks. It's already going to do an amazing amount of damage, and you'll see by the end of this clip that I'm putting in a heavy attack, which does about 18k based on the amount of poise charges that I've raised. So, I mean, he was a great champion to use. But in any case, I digress, and there are other champion options. As we know, Sabretooth with the Killmonger synergy is really good against things that are masochism, but do bear in mind you are doing a class disadvantage on this, and I just don't think that may be the case of a good idea. You could use champions like Quake, but again, do bear in mind if you put in a debuff effect, it may not be so good. But there's so many other champions of option. If you were looking for class disadvantage and utilizing mutant champions, then you could use a Mega Red. But again, do bear in mind that it may not be a perfect option. But there are a few out there. It doesn't have to be the case of using Medusa. Anything that does work going against masochism that you know in your roster that doesn't trigger off debuff effects, that could be a positive look for you. Now, I don't have all the answers. I do welcome up the comment section to help out a fellow summoner by having suggestions yourself. If you've got other suggestions, put them in the comment section, or champions that you've used, because then it's helpful. Then people come back to this video, they look at the comments and say, okay, well, Joe Blogs used this, Fred Blogs used that champion, and therefore people go, right, well, I have that champion, and that's a good idea. And then what they do is they then learn a bit at the same time. But these are the champions that I used. Hopefully it was helpful. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the like button as well as the subscribe button if you are indeed new to the channel. Thank you very much for watching. And as always, I shall catch you in the next video. Bye bye for now.